going to look at another problem involving a linear system that we will solve by substitution. Now the difference with this problem versus the other ones is there are fractions for coefficients and even a fraction as a number. So here's equation 1 and here's equation 2. If we look, equation 2 is already rearranged. Now if you don't mind working with fractions, you could just substitute this into the equation, this first equation for y. Now if you really don't like the idea of working with equations or fractions too much, what we can do is manipulate this first equation. And when I say manipulate this, we can change this so that there are less or no fractions in it. And the way we do this, we would look at our fractions and find the lowest common denominator. So between 5 and 2, the lowest common denominator is 10. So what I'll do is I'll multiply this whole equation by 10. Now since I'm multiplying everything by 10, the equation is going to look different, but it will stay the same equation because I'm doing this to every part of the equation. So if I multiply 10 by a half, that would leave me with 5x. And if I multiply 10 by negative 4/5, that's 10 times negative 4, which is negative 40, divide 5, is negative 8y. And then 10 multiplied by 2 is negative 20. So now this equation has no fractions in it. Now we could manipulate this one as well, but the problem is we're going to have to rearrange this equation, so we're going to end up with fractions anyway. So I'm just going to go right to substitution. I'm going to substitute this right side of this equation, because y equals this, in for y in this equation. And hopefully this should eliminate some of the fractions that we see. So 5x minus 8 multiplied by y, and remember our y now is this, 1/4 x minus 3/8 is equal to negative 20. Again, I'm going to remind you we're doing this so that we have one variable in our equation. And by having only one variable, we can solve for this or find the value of it. So 5x minus, what we're going to do is multiply this with everything what's in brackets. So negative 8 times 1/4 is negative 8 times 1 divided by 4, which is subtract 2x. And then negative 8 multiplied by negative 3 is negative 24. Divide 8 is a positive 3. And this is equal to negative 20. Now if we combine our x values, we have 3x plus 3 equals negative 20. So what we'll do from here is begin to isolate x by using reverse bedmass. So we're going to get rid of the 3 first. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides of this equation. So we're left with 3x equals negative 23. And then if we divide both sides by 3, we'll find that x is negative 23 over 3. Now this isn't ideal to have this fraction, but it is going to happen. All right, so you are supposed to leave this as a fraction. You wouldn't divide this and round. All right, the solution is negative 23/3. So sometimes you'll have fractional solutions. Now what we'll do is we'll go back to either equation. Again, since this equation 2 was already rearranged and we didn't have to rearrange it in the beginning, I'm going to substitute this x value in for our x here. So this I'm going to substitute in for x. Now again, it's not going to look really pretty, but we'll work with it as it is. So when we multiply fractions, we multiply numerators together, and then we also multiply denominators. So 1 times negative 23 is negative 23, and 4 times 3 is 12. Now the problem is we can't combine these. When we add or subtract fractions, we need to have a common denominator. So we need to change the look of both these fractions so they have a common denominator. Now the lowest common denominator for the 12 and 8 is 24. So if I multiply this fraction by 2 over 2 and this by 3 over 3, we are going to change the look of the fractions, but they'll still be the same. So negative 46 over 24. And then this is going to be subtract 9 over 24. Now that we have common denominators, we can add the numerators, and this will give us our solution. So negative 46 subtract 9 is negative 55 over 24. So here's our solution. The intersection point would be at negative 23 over 3 and negative 55 over 24.